Good morning. In this video we are going to be looking at the raised garden bed tours. I would call this the main event, but all three parts of our garden tours incrementally each month is really just as active as this is, and it's very exciting. So follow along. We got some harvests. We got a harvest we're going to be announcing for next month that you won't want to miss. And we got a few things we're looking for. So here we go. Hi, I'm Bowtie Dave. So I wanted to start off the video showing you our sitting area out here, and the bean wall over here. It's just a little oasis in here. It's an exciting time. Frequently hear YouTubers talk about designing their garden with a nice sitting area, and this is a wonderful little sitting area, especially in the summer at the peak of the growing season. We get this wall growing over here and everything growing over in the distance here. Now I just took down some cucumbers. We'll talk about that in a minute. But yeah, it's wonderful. We can swap out the table for a fire pit in the winter, and we do that. And it's wonderful to have a good sitting area in the garden. Now our weather, it's been a little rough. So first thing you got to know is around here is the water temperature in the Gulf, and that's important because the water temperature pulls everything, all the air, the highs and the lowers, closer to it. Can you see one of my monarchs up there on the zinnia? That is so cool. Here's a close-up video of that. I love seeing this monarch. I know there's at least one living here around here. I feel like there's probably a few more. I think I've seen different types of patterns, but this is very exciting to see. They love these zinnias, and interestingly enough, Jim, you were right about the single petals being better for pollinators. They like those better. So anyway, if you go 10 miles that way, the weather is completely different, and you actually have highs and lows. That's across the Choctawhatchee Bay, Crestview area, that kind of area, so you can kind of get a reference point. Down here though, our water temperature is 87 degrees Fahrenheit. That's about 30.5 degrees Celsius. What that does is, as the wind comes across, no matter what the weather is inland, even though they get 60, 70 degree temperatures, you know, beautiful cools, that comes across the water and it moderates the temperatures closer to that water temperature. So what happens is our lows come out to about 80 degrees Fahrenheit, 27 plus Celsius. 94 degrees Fahrenheit is the high, 34 plus Celsius. In Fahrenheit, that's 7 degrees above, 7 degrees below. And it does that almost every single day from the end of April all the way into September. So we don't get those 40 degree, 60 degree, 70 degree temperatures. We haven't seen a temperature below 78 in a very long time. I think that's about 26 degrees Celsius. It stays warm here, and I grew up in upstate New York. I'm used to the cold. I'm used to the hot. Not this hot. Well, I mean, it's been 30 years, 40 years since I've lived there, but I'm more used to that still. I still have trouble. I know I'm flipping a house over on the other side of the bay, and 3 Fridays ago I worked until around noon, and I kind of got myself into a spot with the heat, feeling a little nauseous, and it was not a good thing. So I still, ever since then, these past 2 weeks of really hot weather have been a struggle. Anyway, so yeah, that's our weather. Has been. We get an occasional rain here and there. So we live here in the heart of Destin, as I already said, and this is not a big property. And I try to encourage people a lot. In fact, we've been over on Let's Get Growing. No, Keep On Growing with Mike Van Doozy. Sorry, Mike. And incidentally, if I ever mention other channels, they're either going to be in the cards, which is the little letter I in the circle in the top right-hand corner of the video, if you're on a device that gets cards. If you're not on a device that gets cards, you can look in the description and see there's a link to whatever I'm talking about. And so, anyways, yeah, Keep On Growing group with Mike Van Doozy. over on Facebook and YouTube. They've been doing some talk shows recently, discussions, roundtable discussions. I've been a part of one of them so far, and I look forward to being a part of another. But anyway, we were talking about not having a lot of space and different ways you can use even just a little space. In fact, a patio. I started on a 14-foot patio. I had 28 tomato plants, I had cucumbers, I had squash, I had okra, I had all kinds of stuff growing. You can see in this picture that, hot peppers, tons of hot peppers. And so anyway, I got a mosquito here. Morning is warming up and they're starting to come out. But just on that small space, and I encourage you just to start something, try something. The Tiny Tim tomato will grow in a window, a sunny window, and inside even, and only grows so big that you can get cherry tomatoes. It's important to know how to grow something, because when times come when maybe perchance for some silly reason the stores are a little short on food, you know who doesn't worry about that? The people who grow their own. That's it. And the people who know how to grow their own. So it's an important skill that I think everyone should learn, at least somebody in every family. And so if you feel a drive to go that way, don't just sit wondering what to do first. Go buy a plant. Go get started. Put a seed in the soil somewhere. Grow microgreens. Microgreens are very healthy. So there's so many things that you can do to get started growing, even on this little property here. You can see on this map, it's 100 feet wide by 106 feet deep. Comes out to right at a quarter acre. And we are converting a lot of this to gardens because that was my dream. And when we first saw this house, I saw these beds. In fact, these raised beds that we're about to go through right now, I saw these beds in my mind because we had already started with the concept. It just expanded when we had the space. So, very exciting. These raised beds are my favorite area because this was truly the beginning of it in my brain. And the beginning of it where I started working when we bought this house. Wow, next month after next, it'll be 3 years. So we're getting close to 3 years being on this property. So we're going to have this map of the backyard. You see here, the raised beds, we're going to pop those out so we can have a little icon in here, and we'll show you that in a second, but we're going to put this map in the corner down here of the video, and we will have this icon of a circle with an arrow. The circle represents the camera's location, and the arrow represents the direction it's pointing. And so this will go around that little map, and here I'll move it into place where you can see where you are right now in the garden, and we will follow this around. And you'll see it's not a big space. This is, I want to say it's 64 feet long, maybe 18 feet wide, 16 feet wide, 14 feet wide, I want to say. And so it's not a huge area, huge part of our overall property. We are blessed to have a whole quarter acre because we are in Old Destin, and it was one of the things we were looking for. But we'll have this map here in the corner of the video so you can kind of get an idea. I got my Farmer's Defense hat. Actually, it's not mine. It's Mrs. Bowtie's. I put this shirt on, and she said, "You need to wear my Farmer's Defense hat. It'll look great." So they do some great gardening supplies. Their hats are awesome. They have sleeves that protect your arms and other things for getting out in the garden to help you out. So there's really no excuse anymore. Some people say, well, my skin is too sensitive. They got sleeves for that. They got gloves for that. They got a hat for the sun. They got all kinds of good stuff. You can get out there. If you want to, you can do it. So please do. Okay, talked about weather, talked about the size of the property. How about we get started on this GreenStalk garden, raised garden. And you can see here on the top we have some strawberries growing. We don't have any berries growing. It's getting a little bit late in the season. I do want to show you we do have some pups coming out of the strawberry. And these are important because we're going to be discussing some pups that I put in the beds. We're changing our strawberry patch, and we're going to be putting strawberries in amongst the beds. Now, I know some people say they go crazy. They do have shallow roots. They're easy to pull, but they also propagate their own plants like this. Once these things start growing roots on it, which I can see there's some roots right there on that, you can actually cut this, put that little thing in a cup of soil, and that thing will take off. That little plant right there will take off, believe it or not. And so this thing is actually sitting here looking for dirt. In fact, I'm going to give it a little help because conveniently there is a spot right here. There's a root right where I want to do this. But I'm going to put that little plant right there. I'm going to put the next one over here in the next hole. And I'll put this last one down here. And these will root. These will take off and become new strawberry plants. I'm not dedicating this GreenStalk completely to strawberries, but I do want to put more strawberries in here. I am still experimenting. You might be able to see this right here was a broccoli. Nope, that was a cauliflower. And I cut it off. It's interesting that it's still growing. It's supposed to be a perennial. An annual, which means it lives the season, does its thing, produces seeds, and then it dies in a year. I've been leaving a few of these things around just to see what they do. I'm very curious. I've been learning. This here is a broccoli right here, and it is just growing like crazy still. And so it's got little new leaves growing out on it and everything. So I don't know. This just fascinates me. I'm learning about these things and what they do. Let me take the camera off the tripod and we'll kind of take a closer look here. So on this back side, you can see the tripod right there where you were. On the back side over here, you can see we have some parsley growing, and it is going to seed. It will drop seeds into, some of them will actually fall in here, some of them will feed the birds. But if I take this right here, this little head, and put it in my hand, let's see, look at there, there's seeds. That easy. That little flower head is making seeds. And then we just go and drop those somewhere, and they will grow broccoli. So, parsley, not broccoli. Good Lord. I am so... it's been an exhausting week, so you have to bear with me if I seem a little bit brain scattered here at times. We still have a Dino Kale, which I am letting go to see what it does. I want to see what it does. It never grew very big. It's a very tasty kale. In fact, this one over here, I think that this one here might be getting ready to go to seed, but these leaves do taste good. I snack on them when I come out here. There's strawberries down there. I do turn this thing. It does have a swivel base. I turn this thing every once in a while. One thing I found, I did get the irrigation kit that has the dome on top here. One thing I found that is, if I hook it into my irrigation system so it gets watered every other day automatically, and yes, it's got a little spigot here, this thing fills up with water, it drains through every single layer here. If I do it with my irrigation system, I don't have to worry about this at all. And so I've actually taken off the cover, and you can see, yes, there's a few leaves in here, but it still works. Occasionally I'll come in and pull a leaf out. I walk by this. This is right here by the door, so I will walk by this quite often. Most days I walk by this if I'm going to be in the backyard. I don't go to the backyard gardens every day. So much like the GreenStalk, there are weeds over here, and I am a lazy gardener. In fact, Mike Van Doozy is trying to become the dumbest gardener, and I'm afraid he's losing that battle, because I am about as lazy and dumb as it comes. And look at this stuff growing. Isn't that just glorious? Isn't that just amazing? I am blown away with how all this looks. We have here a lot of zinnias. I do love the zinnias. We are growing giant zinnias in the raised beds this year, thanks to a neighbor who gave me a bag full of seeds. We do have the cucumbers here. I want to talk about the cucumbers real quick. The last garden tour, we had the dead ones, the dying ones. They did all die, and I went ahead and put all of them in the compost. Can you see my lizard right there? He thinks he's hiding right there. He's going to run here in a minute when I start showing you the new cucumbers coming up. And you'll see here, hey, there's 2 new vines. There's nothing. There's a couple more vines growing in there that are kind of struggling. You can see I did put a little diatomaceous earth in there. I do have an irrigation head right here that sprays water down inside those cups so that the seeds get water. We have a less successful side on the other side of this arch trellis, but we will get to that at the beginning of bed number 2 in just a little bit. I do want to show you, so we have ginger, these thin leaves, and we have turmeric. Now, I got to tell you, turmeric, there was turmeric growing in my garden when we bought the house. It was about a foot tall. This thing here is approaching 5 feet tall. I didn't realize turmeric grew that big. Now, I believe turmeric and ginger are understory plants, which means they grow underneath bigger things, trees and large shrubbery and so forth in the natural. And so these, I've put the shade cloth over them to get them to grow. Now, interestingly enough, this one right here, which is under the shade cloth, is the most vigorous one. In fact, let me show you the base of this thing. I can't even count all the stems here. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's at least 9 stems here, maybe a 10th right there, growing out of this one piece of turmeric that I stuck in the ground. What on earth, people? This thing is going crazy. And I know the turmeric under there, there's one right there, just right there on the surface. The turmeric under there is going to be huge. Now, we will be harvesting this plant next month when it comes around to the September garden tour, so be sure and subscribe so you don't miss a thing and see what comes out of this. I have a feeling there is a boatload of turmeric on this one plant. And look, there's another turmeric plant, another turmeric plant, and another turmeric plant. Now, interesting, these aren't as big as that first one. If you look up, these are not quite under the shade cloth. These are on the, from here over, just a little bit out from underneath the shade cloth, just a tad. And they're not quite growing as big, though they do look wonderful. They look great, but there's no eating on these leaves. These leaves are gorgeous. In fact, looking around, I think the only thing I can see is a little bit of a brown edge on a couple of the leaves that are in the direct sun. That's a basil underneath there. In fact, it's big enough I could probably pull that sleeve off of there. But yeah, so this turmeric, folks, I'm about to have a lifetime supply of turmeric that I'm not going to know what to do with. So this is going to be an interesting harvest. We will be harvesting the one big plant, whether the leaves look bad or not, next month in 4 or 5 weeks. I think it's 5 weeks. Whenever the 3rd Saturday in September falls, that is when we're going to be harvesting that. So like I said, be sure and subscribe so you don't miss all the turmeric that's on. I have a feeling that one plant is probably making enough turmeric for me for the rest of my life. Just the one plant. And I've got like 10 plants in there. So I'm a little bit feeling like, oh my goodness, what am I going to do with that much turmeric? I'm going to have to give a lot away. So I fortunately have places to give it away. So the ginger, I do want to show you, this ginger is going crazy mad. Look at this ginger sitting here. This is all good. You can actually break off a single piece and use a piece of it if you need it. This one here is going crazy mad. This one here, I believe, is the first one we had coming up. Either one of these two right here was the first one we had coming up a few months ago. But you can see we have a lot of them coming up. I mean, the ginger is just nuts this year, and I am so excited. We're going to be pickling some ginger. We're going to do a few other things with it. You know, I use it in my ginger loquat jam, which I love. Oh my goodness. We use ginger in jams and so forth. So anyway, just kind of have to figure out, hey, do you know what to do with so much turmeric? Let me know. I do eat some turmeric every single morning. They're going out here to the blackberries. And now, last year I committed this arch trellis to cucumbers, but the blackberries were so amazing this year, and I think they're going to be amazing next year. You can see the green vines are starting to grow. They're coming up. I need to start training them over this piece of wood here and into that arch trellis with strings or maybe bamboo. We got a lot of bamboo we could use, so I need to start training those in the direction they're going to go. Next spring, the blackberries are going to be amazing. More zinnias down here. Now, one thing I want to point out here. So we're in the zinnias. I have to find one. Okay, so yeah, here's one. Right down here. Do you see what that is right there? That is a strawberry plant. Yep, I put strawberries in the bed here, right underneath all these turmeric. Now that, when I planted that, it looked pretty miserable. There's a few others in here. If I come back this way a little bit more, I'm trying not to make you too dizzy. There's one, I see, there's one underneath there. Can you see that leaf? That's a strawberry plant. And I've got another up here. Oh, here it is, right here. That's a strawberry plant. So I'm starting to put these strawberry plants in some of my beds, and this is a change. I've had it in that front strawberry patch that's in the beginning of every first part of the garden tour for 3 years now. And they've produced, but they haven't done great. And this year, it just got away from me. I was a little discouraged with how they were going, and yeah, it got away from me, I can admit. So I am starting to move strawberries into regular beds. In fact, I'm going to show you here amongst the okra. I've got a couple. In fact, there's one right over there. I have to look around here a little bit. That's a strawberry plant right there. See that? There are a few strawberry plants up in here in the okra jungle where the lizards are, and we're going to start putting these strawberries. I'm going to try using them as a ground cover. Now, these things don't grow like crazy like they do in, say, Ohio, I hope. Who knows? I may be ripping out all my strawberries. The nice thing about strawberries, though, is they do have shallow roots, so they are easy to pull out, and they are easy to move. So if I need to move them, concentrate them somewhere in a few years, I will. Of course, then we have the okra. And the okra is amazing. These have been growing. I've been harvesting, averaging about a pound a day. That one's not going to come off. There we go. About a pound a day of these. If you break to find out if they're good, you break the tip. If it breaks off clean, which I know, well, it almost broke off clean. Actually, yes, it did break off clean. If it breaks off clean, you know it's still good to eat. When they get too big, oh lordy. When they get too big, they start getting woody. Very difficult to eat. I did just harvest 4 pounds yesterday, which is the first time, over 4 pounds, which is the first time I've harvested it in 4 days. Yes. I skipped 4 days of harvesting. Silly me. Or 3 days of harvesting. Silly me. I know there's a bunch of woody ones in there. So we have picked several gallons. We have several gallons of sliced okra that Mrs. Bowtie will use for frying. And they will not be going to waste. Guarantee. We like that the most. I love the fresh okra, like I just had that one I picked off. Oh, I still love okra. Anyway, now interestingly enough, right here you'll notice that the foliage changed. And one of two things has happened here. Number one, either these okra get the shade for a certain amount of time in the morning, and then they get full sun. And these get the sun first. And I'm wondering if these are struggling because they got too much sun, which I didn't think okra would do. We are in Florida, and some of these over here on this end are dying. Now, take into consideration, from somewhere, right, in fact, right there, over, our Seed Saver Exchange, Hill Country Red Okra, and then the last 3 rows are from M.I. Gardner. They were old seeds. Over here, these are seeds that I saved. And some of them seem to be doing good, but not all of them. And we have more of this here. I've been pulling out these leaves to try to keep it cleaned up a little bit. and just kind of setting them over here. I just mow them over when I pull out the mower. But we have been getting a lot of okra off this. I will show you the diameter of this one down here, just mainly because it's easy to get to. I have to back off this very spicy, yep, it has thorns. Anyway, you can, good Lord, that thing hurts. You can see, look how big that thing is. It's enormous. It's almost as big as my wrist at the base. So that's our okra. It is doing good. I'm wondering if too much sun, if there's such a thing as too much sun for these. This makes me curious. I've never seen this many dead plants. I don't know if it's watering. Oh, watering. Let's look at that. So this is my favorite moisture meter. It's one of the cheap ones. I forget, it doesn't cost very much at our local hardware store. This particular one I bought off of Amazon, I believe. And there is the one that I get at Lowe's is tan in color. They both have the same leaf shape. So I don't know if they're made by the same company or not, but they have the exact same shape of the head here. They have two stems. One is almost a brass color. The other one looks maybe aluminum, and it has two sensors at the end. And what happens is when you set this on, and mine always stays on moisture, always, because I don't really use the other. But when I stick it in a little bit, you can see the needle on there. In fact, let me zoom in a little bit on that. You can see how it's raising as I push it in. So when it goes to, it's that second row of numbers where it's at between the 4 and the 5 right now. And that's the row of numbers that I'm looking at. So it's a little bit dry now. Mind you, remember I said that this hasn't been watered in 2 days. So it's a little bit low. My break-off number for these things is about 6. So tomorrow morning it will get watered, and it will be at an 8 or 9 for the morning tomorrow. It happens at, in my yard, it happens at 5:15 in the morning, 5:10 maybe, and waters for an hour. And you can see the little emitter right there. It's just a cheap little emitter from Mr. I don't remember what the name of the brand is. It's just a cheap little, that one has one moving part. There is some that I get that has 0 moving parts, and I like those really good because they don't seem to break. They seem to last a long time. But anyway, that is, so we know that it's getting moisture. I can check it like that and get an idea, okay, it's actually getting the water it needs. So I do love this particular moisture meter. This is my 3rd one that I've had. They don't last forever. I think there might be a battery inside. So yeah, you can see the blackberries are starting here. All these need to get trained up. That's the big task here. I just need to get these things starting going up because I want to do better on blackberries this next year. The 31 pounds we harvested this past year, okay, yeah, it was pretty good. I just want to see what I can do. Is that so wrong? No, it's not. I'm being silly. But anyway, so yeah, that's the that is the blackberry bed, and I don't have anything over here. I would like to try the broccoli again here. We had broccoli and cauliflower and a Brussels sprout down there that eventually never produced anything. So these are the sleeves. I have one day I found a whole bunch of these pots on the side of the road, and I picked up probably about 200 or 300 of them. And so some of them I've cut the bottoms out of and use as sleeves for planting in the garden, and they work really good most of the time. Hold for just a few seconds the pear tree, which I'm not very impressed with, though it is holding up the blackberries. The bee box, the solitary bee box, is not doing anything right now, so I'm not sure why that is. I need to look into that more. I want to make another solitary bee box and see what happens. We do have that monster over there, of course. Go back to the outer garden bed tour to see what these monsters are. Can you... This just blows me away. Look at that Look at that gourd. Oh my goodness. Sorry. Okay. Distracted. All right. So we get into bed number 2. And I have some blackberries in here. I actually have somehow a volunteer tomato coming up in here. And, you know, sometimes I just like to see what grows. That tomato had the willpower to grow here. I want to see if it can carry it through. So I'm going to let it. I learned that from Jess over at Roots and Refuge, in fact. But, okay, back to the sleeves. I wanted to grow some more cucumbers over on this side. And there were cucumbers planted in all 3 of these sleeves, and something has come by and moved them. And the cucumber plants, they're gone. Not sure what's getting it. Something. But they have moved my sleeves. Thank you very much. I might try to grow these again. I actually buried these sleeves down in the dirt a little bit too, so they wouldn't get moved, and it didn't work. But here's that volunteer tomato. Whoop! Here's that volunteer tomato again. It's actually growing right there. There's one growing right there. There's another one growing over there. But it doesn't look like I'm going to have tomatoes growing here. I mean cucumbers growing here, so I'm going to let the tomatoes take over and see what happens. Okay, folks. The bean wall. Now there's a lot more than beans in here, but I'm going to go under here under the shady side, shady west side here, and show you the bean wall because it is looking amazing. I've picked a lot of the this powdery mildew looking stuff, and I picked a lot of these leaves off, put them in here. It's growing new leaves like crazy. As fast as I can pull them off, it's growing new leaves. It's thick up there. I still have not seen any beans. It has simply been too hot, too humid, and there has been no relief at night for these beans to take hold. So nothing has bloomed. It looks like we have at least one more week of over 90-degree weather with high humidity. Now, come Wednesday of this week, next week, it's supposed to start getting dry. I don't think it's going to stay that way for long, but it's supposed to start getting dry. One thing I will show you, it's growing up on top. It's growing through the shade cloth and getting up on top of the shade cloth. And I am kind of at a loss of what to do. Part of me wants to go up there and just chop everything that's grown above the shade cloth in the hope that it will, I got a bee buzzing around my head, in the hope that it will improve growth down here and hopefully grow beans, because it's going to be hard to harvest beans up on top of that shade cloth, isn't it? I don't know. It seems like it could be a challenge. So yeah, the beans are going crazy. There are still, I mean, it appears a few buds here and there, but that's it. No beans, no beans. So we've been in the mid to low 90s every day. You can see zinnias growing through over here. I planted the zinnias all on the other side in the middle of the bed, but of course, they're giant zinnias. They go crazy. I'm going to go to the other side over there and show you the peppers. So this is directly across the bean wall, and we have giant zinnias in here. In fact, that's the zinnia we saw the Monarch on earlier. And we have in here Peppadew going crazy. Get out of my shadow there. Peppadew going crazy. We have tie hots growing crazy underneath. Is actually is struggling to survive underneath the zinnia, but it is there. It's there. There's tie hots there, tie hots here. We have more Peppadew in here. Dragon cayenne. You'll notice the dragon cayenne hang more downward. When I go over here to the left, the tie hots point upward. So that's the difference. You can't really tell the difference after you pick them. So I have to harvest them separately. We have some jalapenos in here, still going crazy, underneath the bean wall. Now I have been cutting this stuff back to try to keep it under control. It's been hot, folks. It's hard to get out here. I'm dripping sweat right now as it is. But a couple more Peppadew plants under there. You can barely see them there, but if I go underneath here, look at them all. There's just dozens underneath here. And they're ripe. These things are ready to eat. And Peppadew, oh, tasty, 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 tasty. They serve those in high-end restaurants. We have another basil here. Now I will point out we have a couple of other guests here. This blackberry has got to get moved, and it will. Let's see if I can get it out of the way here briefly. There we go. We have the basil here, which I'm growing everywhere because the aroma helps confuse pests. We have a nasturtium. I planted just a few trailing nasturtium seeds. Still experimenting with them. I would like to see nasturtium growing everywhere. It doesn't happen in our garden. And of course, over here we have one more strawberry. And yeah, I've got strawberries kind of going in everywhere. I did put in, I don't know, probably a total of 20 or 30 of them, maybe over 20. I'm not really sure. I was basically salvaging the old strawberry patch, which is at the beginning of the first parts of these garden tours from the first Saturday of the month. We have our Supersweet 100s. I want to show you this. Supersweet 100s. No buds whatsoever. Last month we actually had some buds over on the other side. There are no buds on the Supersweet 100. Doesn't mean it's not going to start producing, because come September, October, maybe November, this thing is going to be full. It did it last year. I'm counting on it again. On the other side, this other arch trellis over here, 16-foot panel going crossways. This is the Everglades tomato, and it seems to be doing crazy. I have been trying really hard to keep the two separate this year. I didn't do good last year with that, but I'll pull that branch and redirect it this way so that we'll have Supersweet 100 and Everglades quite separate. You can see there's an Everglades here. This is actually part of that Everglades that's growing right there. They're going everywhere. They're vining. They're indeterminate, which means they grow and grow and grow. So the aloe patch is under here. There's another tomato plant right there. The aloe patch is under here. I'm letting it stay covered under the grass until the heat subsides, and then I will come in and take out the grass. I still have not put that cement bench over there because it is hot, folks. Did I mention that? It's hot out here. But I do want to show you a few things here in the pepper patch. And this is, of course, bed number 3. I know, I'm a lazy gardener, right? This is Tabasco. You can see it's a prolific producer. This thing here, I bought as a seedling, Bonnie seedling, last year, folks, in like March or April. This thing has been producing. This is its 2nd year. It will be overwintered indoors this winter. We'll see if it survives. This one here, I think, is a Fatali. Judging by the lateness of its blooms, I'm pretty sure we're going to have a Fatali here. Oh, is that a bloom? Nope, that's not a bloom. The Fatali will come out later. They are really hot. Really, really hot. Scotch bonnet is going crazy over here. Bob, this is the Scotch bonnet that I've got right now. And I think I have another one going over there, but it's small. But this one is the one that's producing lots of peppers. And there's lots under here that are ripe. Ooh, there fell one. I have not been harvesting the peppers this year like I did before because, well, frankly, when I fermented 2.25 gallons of hot pepper sauce last year, it's like a 3-year supply of hot pepper sauce. I really don't need that much. So I've been giving away. Jalapenos, we have been harvesting for ourselves, of course. Those are good. We have over here, I thought this was a peri. Now I'm just not sure. I think it's a peri, but folks, yeah, that's a peri. It's got to be a peri. Is that a peri? I'm not sure. This is why labeling is so important. They will grow into a red pepper if they're peri. The shape of them is reminiscent of my peri with that point on them. So I'm hoping that's what that is. We have another jalapeno. Oops, okay, see, I almost did it. That's another peri right there. There's another jalapeno there. That is a jalapeno. We'll not do that to Mrs. Bowtie again. Yes, peri is a lot hotter. Come over here. Here's another jalapeno. And I think that little one there is also a Scotch bonnet that's coming up. It'll get the sleeve off of it pretty soon. Coming past our little mess bed, which I haven't done anything with. Let's go look at the final section over there. So yeah, here we come into our final little section. We haven't done much with the weeding here. We do have 2 basil plants here. There is a strawberry in here somewhere. I'll see if I can find it before I'm done. Mainly for my reference. Remember, these videos are my log, so I know what I planted where. We do have 1 surviving Nebraska wedding there. Yes, we planted 4. 1 is surviving still. Still don't think we're going to get anything off them, but they just taste so wonderful. On the front here, we have 3 of the Supersweet 100 vines, and they are going crazy. This is the other one. Now, I said no buds. Look at there. There's some buds. I doubt they're going to do anything because I know what our forecast is. They're going to try, but I doubt they're going to do it, which means they'll just save their energy for the next try. We have 1 German pink in here that seems to be doing okay. Let's see what our moisture meter says over here. Oh, see, look at there. This thing hadn't been watered in 2 days, since yesterday morning. Come on, focus. There we go. It's still between 4 and 5. So it'll get watered tomorrow, and it'll be good again. That's very cool. I was wondering how that was doing over here. So yeah, we're still getting good water in here. Coming around to the end here, I already admitted I did not care for my goji berry this year. I didn't take care of it. I didn't prune it. So it's looking a little bit rough with all the dead sticks. I should have trimmed out a lot of this old growth. There is some new growth coming out in here now. But it's coming from old growth. We'll end up trimming this here in a few months and be done with it. So just to end off the video, I wanted to just have a view of the bean wall with the okra down at the end down there. It's just the best view of my garden right now. Please subscribe. For those of you who have subscribed, thank you so much for subscribing. You've made Bowtie Life what it is today. Go over and keep on growing. And we join the chats over there. They have a group that you can join in Facebook, and they go on YouTube a few times a week right now. But see Mike Van Doozy, and occasionally I appear on there. I'm planning to pop in there here in one day soon. I'm not always available, so the mower is coming back. So I guess that leaves me only one thing to say. Have a blessed day.